Hello, second grade. Happy Friday. It's the end of the week. We're still talking about fractions, but now we're going even a little bit deeper than we have before. So we've gotten pretty comfortable with identifying fourths, halves, and eighths when we see them and partitioning things and all of that. And today we're going to start talking about what happens if we need to create fractions that are greater than 1. So for example, if Miss Sigler, if I want to give every student in my class 1/2 of a chocolate bar, am I going to need more than one chocolate bar to give all of my students 1/2? I would need more than one chocolate bar to give each student in my class a half. I could only give 2 of my students half of a chocolate bar if I only have one chocolate bar, right? So in situations like that, we're going to need more than one object to be partitioned into fractions. So we're going to be talking today about fence sections. So sections of fence, so maybe like your whole fence, if you have a yard, it's not all one fence that goes all the way around, right? They have to put it up in sections. And whenever people come and paint them, they might have to paint them in sections too. And so that's the situation that we're talking about today. So over here, I have my examples, and you guys are going to help me fill out our papers on these fence sections, okay? So y'all are going to help Miss Sigler. So fence section number 1. This is what one whole fence section is. So this is the size of one fence section. Down here, I have one fence section here and one fence section here. So how many fence sections do I have? I have 2 fence sections right here. And how many pieces of the fence need to be painted blue? So we see one fence section right here. All of this is one fence section. And this fence section is broken into 2 equal parts, which means it's broken into halves, right? So right here we have 1/2, 2 halves. And then right here, we actually have another half, don't we? Because we have more than one. So we have 1, 2, 3 halves that need to be painted blue because the person who's painting this fence wants to leave this portion white. So we're going to come over here and I'm going to shrink my face a little bit. And you guys are going to help me fill this out. So I'm actually going to use my crayons to kind of make it a little bit more like our example. So I'm going to color this half needs to be blue according to our example over here. This half needs to be blue. And this half needs to be blue of this other section. So each whole fence section is partitioned into halves, fourths, or eighths. Well, what do you guys think? Is this section partitioned into halves, fourths, or eighths? What do y'all think? It is partitioned into halves. So I'm going to put halves right here. The painters need to paint the number of colored pieces. What is the number of colored pieces that they need to paint? Well, we have 1, 2, 3 right here. 3. And are we talking about fourths or eighths? No, we are talking about 3 halves. So the painters need to paint 3 halves of this section of fence with blue paint. 3 halves. Now we're going to move on to our fenced section number 2. So I'm going to scooch down a little bit. And now we're talking about a red fence. So fence section number 2. This is, again, they're showing us what one whole fence section is. And how many holes do we have? Well, I see this is a whole fence section and this is a whole fence section. So we have 2 whole fence sections that we're talking about. But not both. We don't want all of the fences to be red. We only want parts of those fences to be red. So what are these fence sections broken into? Let me go ahead and color it in. So I've got 1 right here, 2, 3, 4. So each section is broken into 4 equal parts, right? which means that it's partitioned into halves, fourths, or eighths. What do y'all think? It's partitioned into fourths. And we have one whole fence section that's painted red, and then we also have 2/4 over here. So when we count all of those fourths, we see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fourths. So there are 6 fourths of this section that have red paint on them, and then 2 that were left without any paint on them. So we're filling out the number of colored pieces and then what those pieces are. So these aren't just pieces, they are fractions, and it's this whole section has been cut into fourths. So even though we have more than one whole fence, both of them are cut into fourths, so we can talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fourths that are red. Now we're going to move on to section 3. Over here. And if we look, here's one whole fence section. How many whole fences are we talking about right here? I see one whole fence, and then I see another whole fence right here. But not the whole fence is painted blue, right? We have this whole fence that's blue, but only 6 of the 8 pieces over here are colored blue, or painted blue. Okay, so that looks just like my example up here. And you guys are going to help me fill this out. So each whole fence section is partitioned. So this whole fence section and this whole fence section, they are both partitioned into halves, fourths, or eighths. What do y'all think? Shout it out. They are both sectioned or partitioned into eighths. The painter needs to paint how many of the sections or parts blue? How many parts are they going to paint blue? Well, they're going to paint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14. Wow, 14. And are we talking about halves right here? No, not talking about halves. Are we talking about fourths? No, we're not talking about fourths. Are we talking about eighths? Yes, we are talking about eighths. So I'm going to write 14 oops, that's not how you spell it. Eighths of this section of fence are going to be painted blue. We are going to pause real quick. So we are going to jump ahead to fence section 5. So we're skipping 4 to 5. And look, we have the whole fence section shown right here, but we have more than one fence section we're talking about, don't we? How many fence sections do you guys see right here? We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whole fence sections, right? And each of these fence sections, is each hole broken into halves, fourths, or eighths? What do you guys think? They are broken into fourths. So there's 5 whole fences. Each one is broken into fourths. And let's look at our example. We see that one whole fence is painted blue, another blue, another all blue, but this one is not all blue. So let's look. We have 4 fourths that are colored blue right here. We have another 4 fourths painted blue, another 4 fourths. Because all 4 of the fourths on each of these holes is blue, right? All of them are blue. Another one where 1, 2, 3, 4, all of those fourths are painted blue. And then the last one only has 1 of the fourths painted blue, right? So if we go and count The painters need to paint what number of colored pieces? How many colored pieces do we see up here? We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to write the number 17 above it. And are we talking about halves, fourths, or eighths? What do you guys think? Ooh, I heard people say fourths. We are talking about fourths right here. The painter needs to paint 17 fourths of this section with blue paint. Wow, that's a lot. And so he's painting lots of sections, lots of whole fence sections, but then only part of this last one. And all together, we count 17 fourths. We'll do this last one real quick. And we see fence section 6. Oh my goodness. How many whole fence sections do you guys see here? I see one whole fence, another whole fence, another whole fence, and another whole fence. How many whole fences is that? That's 4 whole fences. And so each whole fence, let's see what each one is partitioned into. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts, right? And they're all equal. So are we talking about halves, fourths, or eighths? What do y'all think? 8 equal parts means that we have them partitioned into eighths. The painters need to paint how many of them red, though? Let's count. Let's look at our example over here. We have 1, 2, 3. Well, we have 8 right here because we know that all 8 of these eighths are red. We have another 8 right here. So 8 plus 8 is 16. Another 8. What's 8 plus 8 plus 8? I'll give you all a second to think about it. 8 plus 8 plus 8 is 24. Okay, so and if we need to, we can just count. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And then we have 25, 26, 27. So we have 27. And are we talking about 27 halves? Is this a half of this fence? No, that is not a half. What is it, guys? It is an eighth. These fence sections are broken into eighths, like we already talked about. So these are eighths, and there are 27 eighths of these 4 fences that are painted red. 27 eighths. So last question I have for you guys is we're going to describe what changed and what stayed the same for each fence section. Describe what changed and what stayed the same for each fence section. When we looked at each section is broken in, is partitioned into the same number of equal parts, right? So I'm going to write that down. Each section is partitioned into the same number of equal parts. So that is something that stayed the same about each fence section, because all of these fence sections have the same number of parts, okay? And you guys don't have to write that down. Y'all don't have to worry about answering that question. I just wanted to give you a chance to think about it. So let's go ahead and hop into our next video to see how you guys are going to complete your assignment today.